What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. For those that don't know, my name is Alina Smith. I'm a writer and producer for projects like ITZY, Red Velvet, Produce 101, Sunmi, Chang'a, and many others. And on this channel, we discuss all things music production and songwriting, specifically focused on K-pop. So if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let's get straight to the video. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I co-produced and co-wrote the new song Sunflower by Choi Yoojung. She is a member of Weki Meki, and this is her solo debut, and I'm so excited to be a part of the single. I'm stoked to show it to you guys, so let's jump straight in. All right, let's check out the song. Okay, so let's dig in. The first thing I want to point out about this track, it's actually quite simple. Like, this is all there is, and it really is quite minimal and just focused on showing off the vocals. Let's start with the drums. So we got our kicks here, our claps, really simple. Just have one sort of a ghost note clap right here, but everything else is just like on the 2 and the 4. Really like self-explanatory, and very simple layering too. Not a whole lot of layering. You guys know me. I'm very like, let's layer 15 snares. Not this time. This time it just kind of worked, and if it works, leave it. We've got a stomp here. And that just comes in on each bar to help emphasize it. Really simple technique. We got some hats. So yeah, this is, as you can hear, 16th note hats. It's super simple, but every 4th bar, I do love this about this song. It has this break, right? And you can hear this in the kicks as well. And then it goes back to its usual pattern. I personally love this because this almost like throws it back to the late 90s and early 2000s pop, rap, R&B music for me. I kind of keep thinking about Snoop Dogg, Drop It Like It's Hot. Do you know that Snoop? And then it has that part, da, 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 and the snare's like, da, 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 da. I digress, but that's the idea. Also on this part, we have this very like throwback sounding open hat that just goes with the kick pattern. We also have this percussion loop. I want to say it's castanets and like a hand clap. I do love this type of technique for whenever we have very simple percussion, like an 808 hat like this one, layered together just adds more dimension. We also have a tambourine on the 4th hit of every bar right here. Add some texture. And then we have some fills. We have this tom fill right here. 808 toms, obviously. I'm not sure if I just dragged the pitches down or if they're actually like high tom, mid tom, and low tom. I don't recall, but usually with toms, that's what I do. I either will kind of drag down their pitch to make sure they go down, that the pitch decreases, or I'll just pick, like I said, toms of different pitches. And we have the snare fill here. That also goes with that whole like bar where everything switches its rhythm. So we have another cymbal hit right here. Pretty sure that's like one of these, like an 808 crash. Yeah, it's literally the exact same sample. I know what I pick for these types of songs so well. I'm like, oh yeah, let me find the sample. It's so funny. There's also the snare roll. That sounds like a Scott production move. It's funny. I don't remember who did what, but I can kind of just pick based on our styles. He likes a lot of like throwback, kind of like more vintage, grungier sounding stuff, and this just snare choice You see how dull it is, like in a good way. It just sounds vintage, so I'm pretty sure he did that. So that's the main chorus drums. As far as the pre-chorus drums, they are so simple. We mostly just switch what we emphasize, right? We take out the main like 2/4 claps, and then we just have this continuous quarter note clap pattern right here. It's like trap clap situation. Okay, so let's move on to the tonals. First and foremost, we have this guitar here. I think of this as the Animal Crossing guitar. I know it doesn't quite sound like that, but it has a very chill vibe, and for some reason, it reminds me of Animal Crossing. I don't remember if Scott played this. He plays really, really great electric guitar. Well, any type of guitar, but sometimes he's like an arcade villain. He loves to look through arcade and find interesting sounds. So I'm not sure whether he played this or he found this in arcade, but either way, this is the main element of the song. For many sections, this is pretty much the featured instrument, and then there's a vocal, and that's kind of it. So we have this fun little organ here too. Sounds like I don't have the MIDI, but it sounds like there were block chords that were played, and then there was an arpeggiator on top. Fun vibe. So and then we have these bells that come in on the pre-chorus. I personally love this type of sound. I use this type of sound in a lot of songs, mostly just because it adds something tonal, something that has a pitch in very high registers of the EQ spectrum, which there's not a lot of instruments that sound good up there, and like a nice little bell. It adds percussiveness, but it also adds a tonality up top. It's a move I incorporate quite a bit. Then we have one more bell here in the chorus. So this sounds pretty much like a xylophone. The only thing about it that I find kind of funky in a good way is it glides between notes. And I'm not sure, there's two ways to accomplish this. You can do it with the glide button in whatever synth this was created in. I'm gonna guess Omnisphere. And you can also just take audio and change its pitch on a particular note, like just draw it down and have it go back up. So, and then let's look at the bass. I feel like bass is a really important element of this track just because it's so like trap inspired, and everything trap is pretty much bass, vocal, kick, and snare. Those are like the main things. So let's take a look at this. So I'm gonna tell you right now, this is probably Sublab. Both Scott and I use a ton of Sublab. It just sounds like it to me. The reason it sounds like it sort of doesn't have a harsh attack, it kind of like swoops in with a fade, is because it was sidechained to the kick. So whenever the kick comes in, it ducks out of its way. So if you hear them together, this is a technique that helps the kick cut through the mix a little bit better. So on the pre-chorus, the 808 is a little bit different. It is definitely a different sample. I'm not even sure if this is Sublab. It could be. It also could just be a synth bass from something like Trillion. I don't really remember. I wish I had the original MIDI, but I don't. But the one thing I want to draw your attention to about this is you can see this even in the waveform. It's very legato. It's really continuous, while this bass that comes right after it is quite percussive. So, and that's the whole point. I talk about this to death, but I'm going to continue to talk about this to death. It's all about creating dynamics in your song, right? If you didn't have these kind of peaks and valleys, everything would sound the same. It would sound boring. So make sure you always consider that when producing. So, and then there's one more part to consider, which comes in on the second half of the pre-chorus. It's very aptly called wide bass. I really like this technique just for introducing with to lower mid frequencies, right? Make sure that anything from, 30 hertz up to like 150 hertz ish, depending on the track, does stay in the middle, like pan to the middle, but you can always take mid and lower mid frequencies and use a widener to specifically make those frequencies feel like they sit wider. And that's always a nice technique to use. It just makes the bass feel a lot bigger, but you're not actually affecting the sub frequency. So as far as effects go, this song has very simple effects. So we have our sweeps as transitions between sections. There's this one, there's also this one. They're texturally different. This one's pitched, this one's not pitched. I always encourage you guys to kind of layer things, makes things sound bigger, better, usually if you know what you're doing. We have some hey kind of yells, just a little bit of hype. What is swoop? I don't actually remember. Oh, okay, just like a very short sweep. I love things like that, just adding more texture to the song. And we have a siren sound right here too. Like, actually is a siren. I remember I made that. You basically just take like play siren, but you condense the timing of it and you cut it. So it's like, and there's some other yells in here as well. Again, for hype. And honestly, guys, that's pretty much it. This is a really simple track. I'm going to just play one more thing. This is for my top liners out there. One thing that I noticed that I think is so interesting is the chorus of Sunflower. Now, obviously, is in Korean, but originally it was obviously in English because all of us are English speakers, or us writers. And I've seen this happen before, and I just want to point this out to you guys. So I'll play you a little bit of the original top line just on the chorus, and then I will play a little bit of the final record, and I will explain what I want you to pay attention to. Throw it back. Throw it back. Just 'cause I do it back. Do it back. 이 순간 우리 yes. Can't be a perfect match. So I wanted you guys to hear the phonetics of the final Korean lyric and the original lyric, which was throw it back. Throw it back. The Korean lyric sounds very similar. And this is something I've had happen in songs before where the translators, the Korean lyricists, they love the sound of the English lyric, so they find lyrics that sound like it. So I encourage you guys to keep this in mind. Obviously, if you don't know Korean, you're not going to know what sounds good in Korean, but make sure you don't choose things that sound too complex in English, because that's the kind of thing where they go, oh, we don't really know how to translate it and make it sound good in Korean, and they might pass on the song. So keep things kind of simple. All right, guys, and that was pretty much it. As always, if you have questions, make sure you ask them in the comments section down below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up because that really helps the channel. And if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss any videos from me. And on that note, I'm gonna go, so have an amazing day, and I'm gonna see you next time. Bye!